Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put this story together again. Hello, Whovians, and welcome to my review of The King's Demons. Yes, Doctor Who, The King's Demons, starring Peter Davison as the 5th Doctor. This is the 128th story of the overall show, and it's only 2 parts long. It's the 6th and final story of season 20, and it's the shortest as well. So there we go. Okay, The King's Demons. Well, let's do this, shall we? England, March 1215. King John is visiting the castle of Sir Ranulph Fitzwilliam. The arrival of the TARDIS disturbs a medieval joust, but the Doctor and his companions are proclaimed to be friendly demons by the King, who seems strangely interested in their blue engine, or the TARDIS. It soon becomes clear that neither King John or his champion, Sir Giles Estram, who are who they pretend to be. One of the Doctor's oldest and deadliest enemies threatens the future of the democracy on Earth, and he must be stopped. Can you guess who it is? I mean, really? You know, The King's Demons, this is a terrible Doctor Who story. I'm sorry. I mean, if you like this story, that's fine, I respect your opinion, but I have to be honest when I say I found this story to be an absolute bore. Basically, my problem is that there is not much of a story. Not much happens in this story. It is a completely dull, boring story. It just doesn't go anywhere, and you know what's worse is that the whole thing, you know, nothing happens in the story. Characters stand around and talk. There is the sword fight which happens at the end of part 1, which is okay. I mean, it's not the best sword fight they've ever done. It's alright, it's fine. And then in the second half, not much else happens. We're introduced to Chameleon, the new robot companion, and then the Doctor and his companions just leave. They just go. Yeah, that's it. They just escape. They just piss off and leave, and then the Master escapes as well. Like, there is no resolution to this story. This is the laziest script in this season. I mean, Arc of Infinity was awful as well. Well, it was pretty bad. But at least it had some good scenes, which I kind of enjoyed. But it didn't really do justice to Omega's return. But the Master in this story is totally unnecessary. He does not need to be in this story. It was a forced way to just bring him back, and to be honest, it felt like they just brought him back because they couldn't do anything else. For most of this story, the Doctor and Tegan, they just sit and they eat and they sing and they sit and they eat and they sing. It's like, just do something for God's sake, you know. All the characters do is sit around, they sing and they talk and they eat, and it just goes on forever. Turlo gets captured in this story like twice, and that becomes tiresome as well. So Mark Strickson doesn't get a lot to do in this story, which is a shame. And he's about to, like, challenge them at the end, but then they just leave. So, what's the point? And I think the character of Chameleon is pointless. I know that Chameleon only has 2 appearances in the show because the guy who operated him passed away, which is very sad. But so we won't see him again till Planet of Fire, which is, I think, Davison's penultimate story. So, we've got a while before we see him again, but he's totally unneeded in this story also. And, I mean, the design of him is bland as well. Like, I mean, he kind of looks to me like a crossover between a Cyberman, like the metal of a Cyberman, and also C-3PO from Star Wars. If a Cyberman and C-3PO had a kid, it would be Chameleon. That's how I see it. And he's boring. He can change his form into other people. That's it. This story is just boring with a capital B. This shouldn't be, because it's 2 parts long. It's not the most boring story I've ever seen. I wouldn't go that far. It's a bit slow. There is just nothing in this story to talk about. Nothing. I mean, okay, there's the locations. I like the locations. The set and everything is really good. The locations, there's a good jousting scene at the beginning. The costumes are really good, with the exception of Tegan, but I'll talk about that in a minute. The costumes for the supporting cast are well done. I like Davison's costume that he wears, the big sort of fur coat. and everything, and he's not bad with a sword. I'll give him that. But yeah, also Tegan gets nothing to do in this story, despite the fact that Peter Davison and Janet Fielding, they're trying their best, but the characters don't get a lot to do. Tegan wears this stupid rainbow-coloured outfit. It doesn't suit her. I know it's a product of the 80s, and I know the character's sort of meant to look out of place. I'm glad Tegan did change her costume eventually, because she dressed very skimpy in the previous stories. But I just didn't like her costume. I just thought it was too outrageous. It was too over the top. The supporting cast, they're all right. I suppose Anthony Ainley is the master. He's it's not his best performance. He's just kind of holding back from what he could be. I mean, I'm not saying I want him to be over the top and go, moo ha ha, I'm so evil. But it's, I just didn't get much out of him this time. I just thought this is one of his weaker performances. I mean, he was totally unnecessary to this story. They literally forced the master into the story because they could not think of anything else to do. This script is a complete rush job. It was rushed just to shove it out there. They probably ran out of time or something, and then they wrote this very quickly and they shoved it into the backlog. And literally, I don't know why they aired this as the last story. They should have aired this before the Black Guardian trilogy, so we could have had Tegan and Nyssa in this story, and it could have been epic. It could have been an epic medieval story, but no, it's boring. It's boring, and all the supporting cast, like I said, they're okay, but I don't think any of the supporting characters stick out to me. I mean, you've got the King, who also voices Chameleon, Gerald Flood. He's not bad. And all the singing and everything is just unnecessary. It's just, it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't mean anything. You have Isabella, played by Ilsa Blair. She didn't stick out to me either. I've forgotten anything she said in the story already. Hugh, played by Christopher Villiers, is okay. Sir Geoffrey, Michael J. Jackson, is fine. The Jester, played by Peter Burrows, is fine. I mean, they're okay acting-wise. The performances are okay, but the story itself, it's the story itself. There is little to no story. It's a very poor narrative and unengaging. I mean, the only scene I liked was the sword fight. I mean, even then, that's not much of a shout. I mean, the opening jousting scene was fine. It's too talky, and for a two-part story, I expected a lot better. I expected it to be a lot brisker. I mean, at least Black Orchid used the short runtime to its effect. This story drags for most of its runtime. I'm glad it's only 2 parts. That's the one saving grace, really, is that it is only 2 parts. But it's not a story that I would ever go back to. I don't see myself watching this story again. It's just poor. It's very poor. The music is good. I'll give it that. I like the music, but this is really disappointing. Really disappointing. And it's a filler story. You don't need this story. It doesn't add anything to the season. You can skip this one and you won't be missing anything. I mean, okay, Chameleon, but you won't see Chameleon again until Planet of Fire, so there's no point. Yeah, I just couldn't get into it. It was just boring. I mean, if you like this story, then fine, but I'd like to know why. But I personally felt that it wasted the characters. It just didn't develop a story. The sword fight was alright. Good design and everything, but all the problems I have lie in the script. That's kind of where I stand, and the ending is awful. Like, they just leave. It's so lazy. It's a very lazily written script. This is definitely one of Davison's weakest stories, without question. I'd say I'd probably take it over Castrovalva and Fall to Doomsday simply because it's shorter, but that's it. Those stories are pretty bad as well, but I'd take it over those just because it's shorter. So, yeah, and the script was written by Terence Dudley. Well, I say script, I mean, there isn't much of a script. But anyway, and the direction by Tony Virgo, not great, to be honest. Doesn't come together. It's only 2 parts. This shouldn't be difficult. It's not a difficult plot. It shouldn't be a difficult story to follow, but I couldn't get into it. I'm sorry. So, with that being said, I think I'm going to rate The King's Demons. I'm going to have to give it a 3 out of 10. I can't lie to you. I have to give it a 3. I cannot rate it any higher than that. I'm sorry. But anyway, so that ends Peter Davison's 2nd season as the 5th Doctor, and he's only got 1 more season left, so we're 2/3 of the way there. So now, this is the fun part. We come to the part now when I actually do my mini ranking of all the stories in this season. And again, this ranking is purely subjective, not objective. This is my own personal list. If you have your own personal list, please put it down below, but no nasty comments, please, no trolls, or you will be removed from the comment section. Thank you, you have been warned. Okay, so let's rank the stories in personal preference. At the bottom for me, number 6, The King's Demons. Surprise, surprise. Number 5, Arc of Infinity. Number 4, Snake Dance. Number 3, Terminus. Number 2, Mordrin Undead. And number 1, Enlightenment. So that's my personal ranking of Season 20. What's your ranking? Please comment down below, let me know. And next time is going to be a very special Doctor Who review, because next time we are going to be reviewing the 20th anniversary special, The 5 Doctors. Woo! So that is going to be a very special review, and I'm going to be collabing with a couple of other YouTubers on that video. So yeah, stay tuned for that. And yeah, season 20. What do you think of it overall? Personally, I don't think it's a bad season. It's all right. It's probably a bit better than season 19, but it's a very mixed bag. Once again, it's very inconsistent, and I had the same issues weirdly with season 19, although there were a few more duds in that season. So I would say this is it's a marginal improvement over season 19, but both of them are very inconsistent in terms of story quality. Like, you've got certain stories like Enlightenment, which I gave a 10 out of 10, and then you've got The King's Demons, which I gave a 3 out of 10. So, you know, and then the others are kind of all mixed. Like, I've rated stories like 4, 8, 9. It's all over the place. It's really all over the place. So I hope season 21 is going to be slightly more consistent, at least. Of course, it's the J&T era, so, you know, don't expect anything amazing, but you know, we'll see. I mean, we've still got a few stories left with Peter Davison, so that's fun. But yes, the 5 Doctors, which is not part of season 21, it is its own special. So when I rank season 21, I will not be including the 5 Doctors, because it is not part of the season. It is just in its individual special. I may do a ranking in the future of all the anniversary specials, but yeah, I mean, with the 3 Doctors, I only included it because it was part of season 10, when Pertwee's 4th season. It was the first story to open that season, so that made sense. Whereas the 5 Doctors, it's its own thing. It's a standalone adventure. So next time, the 5 Doctors, and then after that, I believe it's is it The Awakening or something like that? Oh, I forget. Let me have a look at my list, because there's quite a few stories. Oh no, Warriors of the Deep. Sorry, Warriors of the Deep. That's the next one. So yeah, 5 Doctors to do that first, and that's going to be quite a special review. And then after that, season 21. And then we're on to Warriors of the Deep. So yes, thank you all very much for watching this video. And please leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And until next time, I'm Mr. Tarnus 11. See you soon. Bye for now.